Folks, we are finally live. I am Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR. Below me on your screen is none other than Bad Mike of North Texas RPG Comics, who's kicking a bottle of booze.
He loves his whiskey.
New bottle. Texas Baby Blue Balcones. If you're in town, if you want to buy a bottle from me, I'm not going to say no.
Mike might pour you a free shot this weekend.
Will. That's going to be here at the warehouse. We'll talk about. Hey, we'll talk about that too. We're going to have a memorial for Doug here at the warehouse Friday and Saturdays for any locals want to come in. So,
and next to me, above Mike, is none other than Jeff Jones. Those of you that have been following Torchlight, Jeff has done the layout. He's doing a layout for Swords of Wizardry Continual Light Digest Size, and he has his own Kickstarter going on right now, Journey into the Meadowlands. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So, Jeff, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
And I can almost bring my wine up to the screen and not get reprimanded by the best player in the OSR for having ice in my red wine. So, but Bill is in, so I'm gonna. But all right, so the Elder Barge is probably gonna. Yes, I'm gonna do this. No ice. You can't see the ice. Doesn't exist. So.
Okay.
This feels kind of like the Brady Bunch.
They were ads kicking us off. Holy crap! Well, hey, here's the thing, Bill.
Tell them what to do. Tell them what to do, Eric.
We are going to be working on sponsorship. So if you don't want ads showing up on the live stream, we are going to have a sponsorship that's going to go for directly once Mike gets the account set up for I believe it's the North Texas the benefit fund for the old guard and I'm about to say
we're gonna have two of funds when we get things for. One's gonna be the con fund, and we're gonna finance that through sales, and we're gonna add to that through sales of T-shirts, posters, blah blah. But we're also gonna have for right now we're gonna call the Doug Ray Memorial Fund, and that's gonna go to helping people in the community. And so we still have to set all that up. I mean, I've actually got some money set aside now. We just have to wait for the funds to actually be legally set up, and we will do that soon. So thanks to Eric and the show for helping us out in the future. We're going to have some live streams where we're going to have money donated to I guess whatever we want to, either the con fund or the memorial fund, whichever one Eric thinks we should put some money in. So.
I think the memorial fund is.
I think that's a good idea.
Where to go.
That's a great idea.
So the idea will be this: for the live streams, it'll be a $25 sponsorship. For the normal, shorter episodes, it'll be a $10 sponsorship. You sponsor, we run no ads for that piece of material, that stream or that episode, and you get a shout out. And we'll even run a banner on the bottom for your website, your product. You just want to say, hoo, I'm great. I mean, not me. I mean, whoever. John Smith is the bomb in the OSR. So you want that up there, we could do that. If you want to say something about Justin, you can't.
So Jeff, I just donated to your Kickstarter because I didn't know it was post-apocalyptic. I'm a sucker for it. So for those who want to know who this gentleman is, this is his latest Kickstarter. It's almost at $1,700. It's already funded. I just pushed a little closer there. Let's see. We can definitely get this over $1,700 tonight. The buy-ins are not onerous by any means, and I
very
just
reasonable. And I have a.
I just dropped $20. I just dropped $20.
All right.
Let's get this over 17. I mean, I'd love to see 18 tonight. I'm not going to put you guys too much on the spot, but I think we could do 18. But we're going to at least get them over the 17 hump and then move on from there.
Yeah, because it's in the middle of a Kickstarter, there's always that dry spell, and I'm definitely in the dry spell.
That happens to everyone. By the way, Bill Barsh is already he's greasing the wheels. He's greasing the wheels there, Mike.
Oh, let's see what we got going here. We know the sponsorship ads, Pacesetters all in. Whoa! We will sponsor 2 of the Wednesday night live streams per month. Holy crap! They're going to price everybody out of it right off the bat.
Well, listen, I know maybe the Friday live streams don't come to the same level, but hey, maybe people don't want ads before seeing Glenn. Or
I'm just gonna say it. Okay, I hate to be the guy, but I'm just gonna say it. It's me. Okay, Joe the lawyer's okay, Glenn's okay, but come on. People want to come see the money. I mean, this is the money right here, right? I mean, come on.
You're the money shot. All right.
Yeah,
All right.
Whoa, I didn't say I was the money shot. That was
wait.
no.
I'm just...
Now, Now, I always said Eric's the talent here because he is. Eric's the talent, but every talent you need a court gesture. I mean, look at. I mean, every movie you have the guy with the sword that goes and kills everything, but you got the sidekick, right? And the sidekick, if he's not funny or useful, then it's a terrible movie. So, but I'm the funny and witty and useful sidekick. So yeah, we're gonna this is where the money is right here. Sorry, Wednesday night, baby, it just is.
So you're my Robin.
Yeah,
I'm not. I don't wear those shorts as good as Robin. I wish I could wear those shorts, but like he does. But
maybe you're Jack Black.
Oh, I could do that. I'm his Jack Black.
That'd make Eric The Rock.
Yeah. I'll be the Kevin Hart to your Rock. How's that sound? I'll do that.
That's a 1-2 punch you can't beat.
Oh, no kidding, man.
God bless. Dandelion Games, we will work it out. And if we don't have a direct fund set up at that point, we'll still work it out and have the money put aside for the fund.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the way we do it.
We appreciate it. Yeah, this is good. This is great. Let me just lead off with something. So what we were talking about earlier, we are going to have a memorial for Doug in person Friday and Saturday at the warehouse. I went to the memorial last weekend. We can talk about that a little bit too if you want to.
Yeah.
It was great. It was really nice, and it was a great send off for Doug. Absolutely great. Just every part of it was great, and from start to finish. From getting to the hotel and being there with Gary and his wife, and then Mike and Liz Stewart, and then just all the people that showed up. It was amazing. So, but we're going to talk about Jeff and his prowess at layouting and his Kickstarter. So. I'm going to be confessed, Jeff. I don't know a lot about you because Eric's kept you hidden, a little hidden treasure.
Oh yeah, I keep him behind the screen.
Yeah, I'm in stealth mode. I'm like a Romulan. I just only show up on occasion, launch those torpedoes. Yeah, so a while back, I decided I wanted to get into doing layout and design, and so I just kind of been coming up with projects. And if you kind of start following me, just realize there's not necessarily a rhyme or reason. So Scourges was the last time, which is a sci-fi dealing with crime. But during the Madlands, it's not just me. It's like I teamed up with a writer, artist, and another artist, and we put this all together. So it's been it's kind of one of those deals where kind of looking for something that isn't necessarily prescribed. It's a lot of inspiration, a lot of hooks, and it's kind of covers. There's 7 different hexes. Each hex has an enclave, plot hooks, NPCs, and then there's a bestiary in there with all sorts of critters.
I don't know if I can show the, this VR virtual green screen is annoying, but you can see. There we go. But it doesn't. It really and the paper quality is high. It's a real quality zine. And this is not what you get at your newsstand. This is something that's going to last you.
Yeah, it's probably going to be something we're probably going to continue doing this, but any further zines most likely will be smaller, probably more of the traditional digest format. Probably still keep the color and probably keep pretty much everything the same except for that. But and as far as using Mixam and such, you really can't go wrong. It's been a very good service, but lately the paper stock's been a problem. Some of the heavier paper stocks they've been out of, so. But just kind of the situation we're all in now.
Yeah, well, aren't they talking about potential toilet paper shortages again? Probably Costco is limiting you to 195 pack of toilet paper. You can't fill up your.
Now you're going to create a run on toilet paper, Eric. They'll trace it back to you. Everything was fine until Wednesday night.
Fine until Tenkar was talking about the shitter paper being.
In fact, I think I need to go to Costco right now and get some toilet paper.
Did you see me, apropos of nothing, did you see me get savaged about a month ago for saying how I bought a bunch of toilet paper at Sam's? Did you see that, Eric?
No.
I think it was on Steve Getty's post. He made a joke about, toilet paper is going to be, and paper towels going to be, sought after again. I said, well, good thing, because after the last shortage, we've been buying a year's worth, every year at at Costco, and some guy came on there and savaged me and said I'm the reason that the world's bad because people like me who are hoarding toilet paper and paper towels are just awful, miserable human beings. Whereas I think maybe we're just smarter than everybody else because look, you're going to use it, right? It's not like you're going to wake up one day and say, you know what? I don't think I'm a toilet paper kind of guy. You're never going to do that. You're always going to use the stuff. So you might as well have a year's or 2 years worth in your house.
I mean now, Mike, admittedly, you have enough Judges Guild new old stock that you'd never be without.
It would help me out. Yeah, I would last a lot longer than you guys because I've got enough 50-star bases, tankards, and lay sectors to wipe quite a few dirty bad Mike butts over the years.
The paper quality is maybe like
it's
one
newsprint
notch below newsprint.
It's newsprint, so it would work just perfectly on my buns. So yes, I could probably, but if I don't have to do that, might as well just use the nice toilet paper. I don't want to have to, use the Judges Guild stuff. So
no, it's good for barter in the apocalypse.
Well, yeah, it's like
as Albert Dropping said, that's exactly. So yeah, I got in this argument with this guy that went about 5 responses, so I decided I didn't want to deal with him anymore. but yeah, he was going on about how the people like me or why the world's a terrible place because we stock up because we hoard things. It's not really hoarding. If you're going to use it eventually. Now, if you have 500 cases of Purell, gel or whatever, you're probably hoarding because I've got 3 up here that have been up here for about a year, and I use them almost every day, and there's still tons in here, so that might be hoarding. Okay, if you have more than 500 of those, that's going to be hoarding. But no, toilet paper, that's infinitely useful for as long as my buns work. So Well, I'm sorry. Hey, go ahead. I didn't mean to disrupt with asshole talk. Yeah.
On Friday when Joe and I were talking. And Joe was, I'm not sure if it was on the show, but he has recently moved. And before he moved his old apartment, he literally stocked up with like 600 rolls of toilet paper. But then he realized he didn't want to bring that with him to the new apartment. So he had his parents drive over and he gave them all the toilet paper. Because it's even better. Because now, if I do need it, they're storing it for me. I'm not.
Oh, yeah.
No cost.
No cost. Free storage.
And, they're older than Joe, so there's a conceivable point when they might not need it anymore, and he could just go get what's left. So, yeah, I mean, that could work out for him.
Well, there is prepping and there is, trying to sell on the aftermarket. And I surprised myself, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, during the midst of this whole toilet paper shortage last year, Amazon was only shipping like toilet paper from China.
I remember that.
Didn't have the spools. And
it was bad stuff too. It was
but
low
I
quality.
put it. I didn't know. But I was like, I'll put it on auto ship every 6 months. I forgot to cancel.
Oh no!
But what shows up at my doors? I'm like, what the hell is this? And I realized, oh my god, it's that horrible Chinese toilet paper, which we did use. Don't get me wrong, it did get used up. But
if you're desperate enough, you will use it.
We were desperate enough that you couldn't get anything at the time. So now, but it isn't like it was all that. It wasn't any cheaper than actually good stuff. It was just the only stuff.
It was there, yeah.
Yeah. So sadly, now I have that as my toilet paper backup in the.
Well, speaking of something that you won't be using for toilet paper, segue.
You cut yourself on this quality.
Journey
paper.
into the Madland. So I sit there. You told me about the Kickstarter. I pull up the page. I saw it was post-apocalyptic, and I pushed by because I'm a sucker. So why this? What was the deal with this? Why does this genre appeal to you, Jeff?
Oh, I mean, we're all that age, right? I mean, it's the Gamma World, the Morrow Project, the whole series. My theory is we all grew up the 3 at least, grew up during the Cold War, right?
Right. So
when we watched Red Dawn, it felt real. And I think that's kind of been part of our zeitgeist. I mean, it's what we grew up in. It's kind of part of our psychology. And I do run games for younger people, and they're not really that interested in post-apocalyptic. Twilight 2000, I just Kickstarter that, and they're not going to play that. They really don't care.
That's not realistic. That would never happen.
So, well, it's not. I mean, when they grew up, I mean, you know, people in their 20s, they didn't grow up with Russia being a threat like it was with us. You know,
No, it was terrorism.
You know, we watched what? Did you guys watch The Day After? That
Sure.
Oh
Everyone.
God.
So I think that's how we dealt with, you know, the fear. I mean, we grew up in this time where it just like, it felt like doom. It felt like doom was around the corner. At any time, there could be nukes being launched, or there could be a biological weapon, you know, set off, or there could be troops coming through Mexico at any time. And I think we all kind of, I say we all, but I think that was kind of our comfort, was through, you know, both the media and also through gaming. I think we all just kind of, you know, that become very popular. I think of our way of kind of addressing it in a way that was, you know, palatable. And so the reason why I did this, all I can say is I just have an idea and I just can't stop until I do it. So this concept kind of came up where it's like, you know, get a bunch of people, write a bunch of articles, put it together, put a zine. But I had a very clear thought for this, and I just kind of had to see it through. And very fortunate. Also got an artist who is willing to come on board. And all we're doing is just splitting the proceeds. So, you know, any money you're giving is actually getting split between the four of us. So it's paying for the artist, the writer, and the person doing the hexes. So we're all, you know, well, kind of sacrificed. But Chema, man, he's just cranked out the art. It's just like crazy.
That looks great.
Art looks really, really good in this. And folks, again, I have the proof copy. So I can tell you, you're not going to be waiting. I don't know, not 9.5, 10 years.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna wait, because after you quit I can't say it. Kickstarter's over. You have to wait like 2 weeks before they pay you. I'm going to be sending this off before then. So
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm not going to wait. So we're going to be getting copies into everybody's hands as soon as we can. Now, the problem is the post office. I don't know. Have either of you tried dealing with? I
ship all the time in my job, and yes, it's a
so
mess right
if
now.
you take, because I didn't have that many to send media mail. I did not have that many copies to send. And I went to I'm a town like maybe like 1,500 people. I had to go to the post office. You wouldn't believe how much time it took them by hand to do each one of those.
You can't mail that from here.
Yeah, I had to break it up into several days to drop off mail. Jeez. And I had to stand there for about half an hour to an hour while they just did a stack of them.
And media mail went up in price too. It's went way up in price. Yeah,
it did. I may be in trouble now. Everybody stop buying.
Depends on how heavy it is. But yeah, media mail had a little jump in price. So did first class. I think priority stayed the same for once, which is unusual. That's usually what jumps up. But yeah, there was a little jump in media and first class. Not a lot.
It shouldn't be bad. Media mail, I think I figured about $3, and it might be a little bit more than that, But you know, it's also interesting. So my previous Scourges, there's several people from different countries that wanted copies, and I sent them out to those people. They just paid the shipping is really what they did. Do you know how much it costs to send a package to Ireland?
Oh yeah, I do this for a living, Jeff. So yes, go ahead and share that delight.
$28. You know how much it costs to send it to Brazil?
Yeah,
about $28. Yeah. You know how much it is to send it to Canada? $28. You could send it. It's like you could live 50 miles away from Canada, and it's going to cost you $28 to send it across the border.
It's ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah. And
you can drop it off in Indonesia for the same amount.
Well, you know, it's parity, right? We're treating every country equally.
But the scary part is if you send to Europe, what can happen is some countries will have they'll do a VAT tax. So somebody could pay shipping, like $30 in shipping plus your $20, whatever, get it. And then before they even get it, the government will force them to pay a tax on it before they even receive it. That's a fine. How do you do?
That's one reason why Frog God Games, we no longer do international orders. We do print on demand overseas because it is VAT was awful. It's awful, Jeff. Because we got blamed for VAT. We have nothing to do with VAT. That's your country charging you a tax to get the value added tax. And And so we don't ship overseas anymore. We do print on demand in the country of origin of country.
So even in the EU, it's not consistent. They're not consistent in how they apply it, because even with Britain, with England coming out of the EU, that created problems. But even within themselves, they're inconsistent.
But by the way, just so Jeff, Bill Barsh, Pacesetter Games, they're looking for ad space. So maybe in future issues, you might be look at that. You never know what's going to happen on the live stream.
And by the way, we're now over 1,700. We were at 1,738. So let's. I'm just going to go out on a limb here. Let's move this to 1,800 tonight. I think.
Oh my goodness!
I think we can.
I feel like I'm on the telethon with Jerry Lewis. And
everybody, it's going to be great.
I didn't know you could do such a good Jerry Lewis.
I didn't know he could do Jerry Lewis either. I still don't know he can do it.
I can't.
I'm not sure he can. I'm still not sure he can.
It's Jerry when he played that, that screaming character when he was with Dean. Lady, I can't understand you.
Sure, it's not Gilbert. Is that Gilbert? I thought that was Gilbert Godfrey.
Gilbert Godfrey is more like.
There you go. Okay, I got you.
And then you have you got your car. You turn your wheel left. It goes right. I don't understand it. God bless him.
That sounds like Jackie Mason.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know you had all these talents.
I wouldn't call them talents.
I still don't know he has them. I'm not sure, Jeff. I still don't know he has any talent. So
I think it'd be fine if you went as Jackie Mason for Halloween.
Oh, that's it. I should have done that at Game Hole when we were there on Halloween. I should have been. I'll go as Jackie Mason. I would have been exhausted by the end.
Yeah, it's amazing how exhausting playing games is.
Yes, isn't it? I'm trying to catch up on the chat. I gotta apologize, but I should. Now, is this system neutral?
Okay, so the way it works is this is mostly all just strictly inspirational stuff. So the NPCs, the locations, everything. There is no stats except for the bestiary. Now, the good news for the bestiary is I followed the Other Dust model, which is basically it's OSR. So the bestiary is in the OSR format. So not the OSR, but it's in the standard, basically the standard block. So what I did do though, there's a little bit of variation. So like with armor, I didn't give an armor class. I just told what armor it was comparable to.
Fair enough. That's probably the best way to handle that.
Yeah. That's very usable. Yeah.
And so the creatures, the way I kind of saw it, so the way I did the creatures is, do you guys remember Impossible Creatures, the PC game from Microsoft, where you would take two different creatures, put them together, and you're on this island? Oh,
shit. Yes. I mean.
So I took a spreadsheet. I took all those. There's a wiki that had them all. So I listed them all, randomly rolled two creatures, mashed them together. So every one of those is a mashup of two creatures.
Nice.
And so then what I did is also, instead of just the standard stats, I started thinking, in the apocalypse, it's also important more than just the XP, but also list whether an animal is edible. So, and also utility. So some animals actually would have utility as far as, their body parts afterwards might have some use, or even the creature itself might have some use.
Very nice. I like that. And with my usual, misfits that I play with, even in a fantasy RPG, they're always, can I take out the internal organ? Like, why? Isn't that bland that I was like, oh,
blame Gary Gygax because he used to hide gems in the bellies of stuff in the Giant series and the D series and stuff.
He was a terrible person. I remember there's a module where the only way you could find the secret door was it was plastered over. Like you'd have to find some wall and something and scrape. Like, who would ever find that?
He did two horrible things. One of the things was in some adventures he hid gems and bellies. So my players for years would cut everything to pieces and there'd be just gore everywhere. And then in one adventure he hid something in a chair leg. And the only reason my characters found it is they had a spell, something detect magic, and there's something chair leg. So after that, any room with furniture in it, it was everything in there was kindling wood by the time they left, because they were not going to let a scroll and a chair leg escape them. So he's responsible for so many dungeons getting absolutely destroyed.
Yeah, it's amazing just, thinking about what sort of, what you put into your adventure, what behavior that drives, and then what that does to your players from then on out. Because all of a sudden, you have the lurker drop on them. Then now they're poking ceilings every time. You know what I mean? It's just the nice thing all your game's about is just walking around, poking the wall, poking the floor, pouring water on the floor to see if it drains out right. It's just kind of funny what sort of, but some people enjoy that. So I'm not going to yuck that yum, but that does definitely drive a certain behavior in the players when you start going that route.
Mark Greenberg makes a point. Try rewriting one of Gary's adventures, which Mark recently did, or Mark, are you still rewriting that adventure?
No, he's through. If he's still rewriting it, he's doing it in his nightmares. He's having a bad dream, and instead of rewriting it while he's trying to sleep at night, he's waking up in a cold sweat, trying to rewrite Necropolis yet again. No,
yeah,
I'm hoping Mark is finished Necropolis, and he's hoping so too. Believe me.
Please, I beg of thee.
Yeah, so all those creatures, you can drop them in your game. They don't break any fantasy game at all. There's nothing. Some of the locations may or may not. If you want to go for kind of a science fantasy, that stuff you could drop in pretty easily. And also, like with anything, you can put modern things in a fantasy setting, but just as long as you describe it appropriately. A lot of times people aren't even clued to that.
Right. And a lot of times, like even vice versa, you can take a fantasy creature, put it into sci-fi, describe it a certain way. They don't know. Give it a laser sword as opposed to a regular sword, and everybody's happy.
We're all happy. I'm just waiting for the game where we get to ride dinosaurs. That's the one I want.
No, we've got to bring
post-apocalyptic dinosaurs. I think I can figure this out. So there was a lab working on dinosaur clones before the world ended, and it got blowed up real bad, and now the clones have grown in their tubes, and they're just waiting for the players to walk in there and accidentally release them, and then boom, you have dinosaurs in your post-apocalyptic suit. Thank you very much.
You just need some raptors, right? Isn't that the iconic dinosaur creature for such a?
Did you ever play the Volturnus modules from Star Frontiers?
No, I didn't. But I know what you're talking about. I definitely know.
So that you actually get small dinosaurs you get to ride, but you only get to do it for the shortest amount of time. Like that should have been from then on out. That's what you should have been doing, right? Riding this dinosaur, but instead you could get a dinosaur, but you really didn't get to do anything with it.
It's a cool bit, and then you got to walk away from it and continue the adventure. If I recall, it's been 40 years. I couldn't. It's like. Star Frontiers was when I bought it for my younger sister as a Christmas present. It went right back to me within like 2 days. She's like, I don't want this shit. It's like, oh, well, I'm so sorry to hear about that. Darn it. I guess it's mine. Wow.
Yeah, so that's what I think I'd like to do is someday just have an adventure where the characters just have small dinosaurs they get to ride, and that would be the thing.
I'm looking at the sample pages, and I got to say, I do like the way the 7 hexes are presented. That is, and at some point I'll probably address this elsewhere. I know there's a big YouTube channel that was talking about Hex Crawls, and they used Caravan as an example of a good Hex Crawl, and dare I say it, Caravan's a board game. So this is,
yeah, we heard about that. Oh yeah.
This is what I'm looking at here. This is what a Hex Crawl is. It doesn't mean you roll a D20 and see where you land. It means your players have some sense of actual influence and where they're going to go and can respond to it. So that's what a Hex Crawl is. And I think that shows it right there. So thank you, Jeff, for derailing my mind right now. And
Yeah, so each one, there's 7 hexes, but each one of those is separate, but we also put them together and also plot hooks that tie them together too. So
nice.
you can just pull out what you want. There's no need to, you can use it as it is. You can drop it in any setting. You can just use individual pieces. It's really, it's not modular. It was written to be cohesive, but it's not written to be forced to be cohesive.
Fair enough. And if you wanted to treat it like a board game, I guess you could roll a D7.
No, you need to get off the caravan, dude.
Get off the caravan. I need to find the caravan. I don't think I've heard of caravan.
Dude. Only reason why it was like, I don't know, it was like $12 in PDF or something like that, and it had amazing reviews until you started doing basic investigative work and realized the amazing reviews were by playtesters and or part of the development team. So, yeah, that's how you get first day reviews, when it's your playtesters who will say, this is the best game ever. So it was, I could afford it because the community supports the tavern. And I was like, well, the tavern will buy the caravan and we'll see how that goes. And sadly, I wasn't disappointed. I kind of got what I expected, but
did you try running it?
Oh God, I played Ditto as a solo because literally it is roll a die to see which hex you wind up on. It's a board. It goes around in a circle. Or an oblong. It doesn't. It's not like I've got 6 directions I can take in my compass. No, it's roll a die and oh wow, look, hex 3 and hex 17 were right next to each other. Just amazing how that worked. So no.
I think you need to run this at Gamehole Con.
You are an evil fucking man. You know, and I'll actually be like, "Oh, thank God there's a mask mandate because they're not going to see my expression." But no, like I said, folks that are out there, I own it. I have the proof copy. It exists. It's not like you're going to be going, "Well, we're waiting on art." No, the art's there. We're waiting on layout. The layout's there. What are we waiting on? We're waiting on you to back. So, I mean, I think that's not a big deal.
No, it was done for a couple of reasons, but mainly I know that people are more likely to back something the closer it is to completion. And I know I'm the same way. And also just, I didn't want the stress of, the problem is if it's not finished, this is the problem you can run into. So let's say you don't have something started or you just have it partially going along and you decide and it gets funded, there's pressure to finish it, but then that pressure may interfere with the whole creative process of what you're going through. So I intended to actually do this with the Zine Quest last year, where they wouldn't let me do two projects. But I'm kind of glad they didn't, because I had more time to work on it, and it ended up growing into a better product. Where I think before I'd have felt the pressure of time to get it out, and it may have been something inferior. That's just best to get to where you want it and then release it.
Oh yeah, and I mean, folks, just so you know how organized Jeff is, if it wasn't for Jeff, there wouldn't be Torchlight. Okay, and that's not. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. I'm not saying that because Jeff's a great guy. No, Jeff is organized, and Jeff has. We're gonna get this done and get this done, and I'll be honest with you. I am like the puppy dog with the squirrel. I'm every fucking where.
Wait, what's the puppy dog doing to the squirrel?
No, the puppy dog.
You're bringing me down. You're bringing me down here.
I've seen it with my dog. She's like 7 years old now, and with Donka, she's a dachshund, and it's like she's walking along. She got a purpose to her, and then there's a squirrel, and it's like what squirrel? And it's like, where the fuck are you going? So I'm very easily got often too much on my plate to be focused, and Jeff has an amazing ability to have a focus, be focused, and be able to get jackasses like me focused. So really, if you're enjoying Torchlight at all, the man to thank is Jeff. And also, if you wanted a layout that was more than acceptable, that's Jeff, because you would have gotten acceptable from me. Instead, you're getting, oh, that's pretty spiffy. And by the way, he's upping his game to like I don't know, Spinal Tap levels. With the continual light digest size, so it's going to be very nice.
I'm very excited about that. I've been really working hard on making it more visible and make it very readable and give it lots of space so things aren't crammed together. And so it's really starting to come around nicely. We're still waiting for a few things to come back, but I'm really excited about Continual Light.
Yeah, it looks really good. I'm excited, and I can't wait to get it out there. We were distantly hoping that we might have copies by Game Hall. That is not happening. I would, however, like to have copies in time for OSR Christmas.
Oh, well, hold on. We're not going to have
we got Torchlight. We got Torchlight.
Oh, but just not Continual Light. Oh,
all right, not Continual Light.
Too bad. That's too bad.
Yeah, he's got. Look at that. I don't even have it yet. Jeff has it. It looks spiffy.
Yeah, and so as good as this looks, the Continual Light will look even better.
Jeff, turn to my article in there because that's probably looks kick-ass.
It is. It
yeah,
is.
Thank you.
Well, there's articles, but you also did if you recall, you did the bestiary.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
In fact,
no. I just copied and pasted that. You're the one that did the layout on that, brother. That was
good.
That's good stuff. Yeah, I just copied and pasted and gave it to Eric. So thank you for making that look awesome.
Let's see. We have which one was your article?
Oh, you don't really have to turn there. I did the one on the potions for Swords and Wizardry Light, and then the bestiary, the Swords and Wizardry Light bestiary part 2. But so if you're into Swords and Wizardry Light, which we really don't pimp enough, Eric, we need to pimp them more often. There is a couple of very useful articles there because, as you might know, in Eric's 4 pages, he does not have potions on there because there's no room. There's no room for magic items or potions.
You want everything in 4 pages?
No. I say you did the right thing. So I took the potions from Swords and Wizardry and I translated them into Swords and Wizardry Light terms. And then also we have a whole bunch of new monsters because Swords and Wizardry Light doesn't use quite the same statistics. So monsters only get 1 attack. I mean, there's a few idiosyncrasies of Swords and Wizardry Light, but it greatly adds to your bestiary for Swords and Wizardry Light if you'd like to play it, which I still like to play it, and I will still run it occasionally. I enjoy playing it.
Yeah, it's my go-to con game because you can sit down, get the players up and running. You get the whole table up and running in 10
Oh, my
15
God.
minutes.
Oh, I didn't even tell you my latest story, too. So I don't know if you remember a couple years ago, we had a school in St. Louis that we shipped a whole bunch of Swords and Wizardry Light to.
I remember that. Yes, what happened?
Well, we have another school in Louisiana this time. The guy, the teacher's running 5th edition, but he's having problems because it's a little too much for some of the kids. I'm shipping him a giant load of Swords and Wizardry Light, so we'll see how that goes. If it goes well, he may have to get a shipment of Continual Light and Torchlight too. So we'll see. I'll keep you updated on that. But he's getting a bunch of Swords and Wizardry Light, some backpacks and dice bags from North Texas, and a bunch of Swords and Wizardry books. So I'm excited about that. That somebody else is going to be playing it now.
Yeah, who knows what happened years from now? Those kids could grow up to be con attendees and running games and all sorts of fun stuff.
Yeah, and it's interesting now because the teacher who wrote me specifically said that, and this would never happen when Eric and I were kids, but apparently he started a game club and he figured maybe like 15 people. Well, they have a lot more than that. They have like double that. And he said some of the people include the head cheerleader is in the group, and one of the big athletes at the school is also there. This is a high school actually. And he said that they have every race, gender, anything you can imagine. He said he said it's just amazing because he was kind of like me. Like when we played, it was the nerd fiefdom, right? And now it's become a different thing. And so he said it's really amazing. All the kids have come together, and you can have these kids all playing together, and they're having a great time playing D&D, even though they're from different social. School has their social strata, right? You got the popular kids and the this and that. And he said it's just amazing because it's been cutting across all the social strata. So I think that's really neat. Well,
I think that's true for role playing games. Definitely. I mean, it amazes me. The gaming table. So when we started gaming, when I moved back to the Peoria area, I didn't have people, so I just basically recruited my daughter had some teenage friends, and another daughter had some friends, so I just recruited some older kids, and and it's the makeup. It's starting to turn now over time to just middle-aged men, but for the longest time there was a lot of young people, but school and work kind of took them away. But I find that it's just like, how can all these people with different backgrounds, different ages, we can sit together, have a good time, play, and we can leave. And it's just like, it doesn't matter about politics. It doesn't matter about social issues or whatever it may be. It's just, we all can get together and enjoy each other's company and have a good time. I think that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, no, that
I agree.
What I've always been espousing is that we should be stressing our commonality, which is gaming, and not that which separates us. But people bring that stuff to the table. Actually, don't bring it to the table. They bring it to the online realm.
I know. It's like, people just relax.
Yeah, so.
The no politics is politics stuff drives me insane.
Yeah.
Well, if you're neutral, then you're political. Well, no, that's the whole point of. Nope. If you're neutral, you didn't choose a side. That's political.
If you're not outraged, then you're wrong.
Yeah. If one side doesn't outrage you, you're absolutely in the wrong. And
right.
You're,
if you're not outraged, then you get outraged by both sides.
But the thing is, because I started thinking about that post, I thought about it quite a bit. And one thing I thought was, the problem is that the demand was that you be outraged at this list of things that he was outraged at. But I thought, the world's a big place. There's a lot of things to be outraged about. I mean, there's probably legitimately 10,000 things that we should be angry about at all times. But who chooses what we're going to be angry at? And why do we have to be angry at everything? And who chooses the list?
It off. You got to turn it off every once in a while. You can't keep the outrage machine going 24/7. If you do, you're never going to have any joy in your life, and you're never going to get anything done.
You can't fight every battle, especially when they're not your battles. And that's the thing. It's like, well, you could be so much better if only you. It's like, no, that's your thing. It's one of the few times I've had to shut down a conversation because I wasn't sure if I was being trolled or if the person was just, and I feel like they were just an, that's I walked away.
He's got Bruce Banner's power. What?
Yeah, like,
I'm angry all the time.
Yeah, it's
Do I secret?
So I'm going to address what John Miller is talking about, Professor DM. Actually, I've met Professor DM in person. We went to the Complete Strategist, him, two people from his gaming group, my wife, Joe the lawyer. Had a great time. We sat down for lunch afterwards. Had a really good conversation about gaming over the years. Professor DM started playing when we started playing. But I don't DM and run games like I did back when I was a teenager or in my 20s. I have changed, and what I see is old school gaming. The younger me would be like, what the fuck are you playing? Even if I'm playing with the same rules, I run things differently. He is certainly somebody who is more tuned in on 5e, but he brings a lot of old school feel, I think, to what he does. I've watched a lot of his videos. This is one actually I did not watch no longer than the introduction, because I figured if I was sober, I would scream, and if I wasn't sober, I'd probably punch my fist into my computer. So I figured it was best to let it ride for a bit. But again, I'm going to still say that Caravan is a hex crawl in name only. And if you ever played, I don't know, the Riddlelands, or even Greyhawk, which isn't even a hex crawl because the scale isn't right for it. But Greyhawk would be more of a hex crawl than randomly determining with a die and a board where hexes don't join. So I don't know. Maybe they discussed it and it was, well, this is like a hex crawl light, and this is what a real hex crawl is. I don't know. I didn't watch the video. I just don't believe that Caravan is a good example of a hex crawl.
You're making me more interested in reading this. I had no interest, no care. I'm starting to feel almost passionate that I must know this thing.
Way to go, Eric. Way to go.
Well, you know what? Folks, if we can raise enough money on Journey into the Midlands, Jeff too can waste his money on Caravan. Don't leave out the exclamation point, because it's Caravan.
Oh, I didn't think of that. I should have put that on Into Madlands.
Into the Mad. You know what? It should have been Into the Madlands with maybe not even an exclamation point. Into the Madlands? ? question mark, and it could have maybe not into the Madlands.
Well, maybe I could like change the size of the font for different words to emphasize it differently.
Oh, journey into the Madlands. Yeah,
I like it. I like it.
Yeah,
So-
just milk it for all it's worth. It actually, what's funny because I came up with a name, and after I came up with a name, I started thinking it was too long. It's like, but it was too late.
No, actually, you know what? I think it's because I read that, and actually, what it makes me think of is the old Marvel Comics Journey into Mystery, where we found like Thor. Thor came from Journey into Mystery, so it's obviously a title that's got the right length to it, where it still fits. It isn't. I think if you've gone longer than if it was a Journey into the Gray Badlands, you might have been a bit long. Journey into the Madlands is pretty much spot on. I think you did well. And I love the cover. The cover is detailed enough and yet wasteland enough at the same time, which I think is you didn't want a cover like that to be cluttered, because you don't expect clutter in the post-apocalypse world. For those younger listeners, I know you don't know what we're talking about.
Well, what happened was with this, it's not a different. So Chema, so the way it worked out, Chema just threw a bunch of art, just threw stuff out, and then because usually art's a lot of work and there's a lot of value. I didn't feel like asking for more, but then he just started reading through the wraps and just produced a whole bunch more. And he did not like the image I used for that cover, so he created this cover specifically for that. And so if you pay attention, if you were to take away all the words, it's a very boring cover. But what he did is he left space for copy.
Mm-hmm.
And so he designed that specifically for a layout that I pretty much already had done, so it fit in and actually worked better. And he's also, he's heavy into the RPG zine scene, and so and he's also in the RPG zine community. But boy, if anybody wants to use him for work, he's just amazing.
Younger viewers pretty much call post-apocalypse dystopian fiction. All right.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, but to me, almost dystopian almost means that there's still a government, there's still society of sorts, not where it's completely broken.
Yeah, it's more Mockingjay or whatever.
Yeah,
it is,
but
World.
And they still do have it, and that is correct. It is. I think it's just shifted a bit, but yeah, it is still there, and there's still video games out there. I don't play them, but there's still video games about going through the apocalypse and
Wasteland, right? Isn't that?
Yeah, it isn't.
There's a recent remake of it. I was actually playing it on my Mac, and then I got bored because apparently games like that aren't as exciting to me now as they were 20 years ago.
Well, the problem is I've got a Mac too, and there's only about 3 games that you can get for your Mac.
Yeah, it was pretty much.
In fact, I had some games I really loved, but I just stopped playing them because they're sucking up too much time. And then I updated to the newest operating system to was it 64-bit, and they no longer work.
Yes, Fallout is certainly one, but Fallout is it is taking that post-apocalypse and saying if the apocalypse happened in 1957.
Well, there's actually I'm gonna out myself here. I'm a gigantic Fallout fan. Matter of fact, I've been playing Fallout 76 online for the past 3 years. My grandson, I loved all the others. Fallout is something they like to call retrofuturism. There's actually a name for it, Eric.
Okay.
And what it is it means a background where time advanced because it takes place in the year. Well, Fallout 76 takes place in the year 2099 or something like that.
Right.
So society advanced in some ways, but not others enough to make it kind of retro. So yes, they have all the 50s type decorations and the music is all 50, older stuff, but they have everything's nuclear powered in Fallout. I mean, they have nuclear powered cars, whatever. So I didn't know there was a specific term for it, but there is retrofuturism. Apparently, there are whole genres of fiction written about retrofuturism, where they're set in a future where there's some aspect of the past that's become very prominent, and so
Yeah, imagine if you play like Buck Rogers or Flash Gordon, those types of games that would fall in line.
Those are pretty, because they have everything old. They have the old style ray guns, and because that's how they thought ray guns would look in 1920. And now we laugh at it. Or they have a computer bank that's as big as a wall. Where nowadays you can have an iPhone that has everything.
Yeah, but you could still be playing that in Traveler, right? I mean, break out your Traveler rules. Half your scout ship was your computer system that all it did was calculate jump.
Yeah, your computer size determined how many programs you could run of each size.
Yeah, it's like, so
you got to choose. Do I want to do jump 3? But that's going to take a slot. Maybe I should just do jump 2 and keep it nav 1.
Yes. Now we're showing our age. There you go.
And nowadays there's more computing function in your iPhone than there is in a Traveler spaceship.
Yeah, but I still prefer. I think I prefer. So I don't know if you guys have played like Coriolis or anything like that, but I do prefer where it still kind of almost has that 80s look. We talk about retrofuturism, even like C.H. Sherry, how to pronounce her name. She wrote a bunch of science fiction novels in the 80s and the 70s. Those are great, but it was all stuff was printed out. It was no, wireless. But there's something about still having the future, but still not necessarily being instantly connected to everything, I think does have a certain aesthetic appeal.
Well, I mean, that instant connection that we have, and even my parents have grown so accustomed to and used to, ruins a lot of story plots that you could have. It's like, well, damn, I'm lost in the big city. All right, well, let me grab my phone. Where am I? Oh, I don't speak the language. Google Translate. Where am I? Good. My phone will ask you the questions for me. There you go. I mean, it ruins. So once you get this smartphone technology, so many possible storylines, especially like in RPGs, they're out the window.
There was an article recently. I think it's Screen Magazine. It's one of the Hollywood magazines, and there's a reason why there's so many movies now that are set in the 80s and 90s. And that's because they can't make these movies past that because everybody has a cell phone. So if you look in the last few years, how many movies are set in the 90s, the 80s or 90s? It's not just nostalgia. It's the fact that their plot lines won't work if there's cell phones there. And they said you're going to see a lot of that because it's a close enough era, even though it's 30 years ago, not 40 years ago with the 80s, it fits in with the different screen. Because screenwriters are lazy and they don't want to have to get around the fact that, oh, wait, I'm going to use an iPhone. Oh, no, my power's out.
Right.
Okay. They're just going to say there are no cell phones right now, and so that's why we're going to do this. And once I read the article, I started looking, and it's amazing how many movies are set in those eras now, and even especially horror movies, because a lot of horror movies aren't going to be horrible if you have a cell phone that you can call help in. So you have all these horror movies. All the movies about what's the big movies? The Conjuring movies. Those are all set in the 70s and 80s. Because why? Because you don't want somebody to call for help and get on their cell phone and, honey, I'm doing an exorcism. I need you here right now. Well, no, that would ruin the whole thing. So yeah, even horror movies have this expectation. Now we can't set anything in modern times. Now every once in a while you get a screenwriter that does an excellent job of using technology. Even though they're writing, something that you think it would ruin the movie, it doesn't ruin the movie because they figure out a kick-ass way to do it. But most of the time, they're just lazy and say, we don't want cell phones. So we're going to set this in, 1992. How's that sound? That sounds great. Let's just put this in 92.
Right, where cell phones are, people might have beepers.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. They have, yeah.
But cell phones, come on. That
ruins everything.
Yeah, I mean, I know, what was it? I guess 90, when did I get my first cell phone? 96, 97? You got like 30 minutes a month for your, and after that it was like $1 a minute or some stupid amount. So it was like,
and you couldn't get on the internet with your cell phone either. People don't realize that. They were just for calling. You couldn't even text the early ones. Now you could. Yeah. I didn't have text on my phone forever because that was extra charge. Damn it!
Texting on your text message.
Yeah.
You still get those warnings.
You had money. They could really, it was 10 cents on both ends to send and receive.
John, the better screenwriters can write around the cell phones. And the problem is you have a lot of lazy screenwriters that don't want to do it, and they just say, let's just set this movie in 1985. We won't have to worry about it, and that's why you're seeing a lot of movies set in those eras now because they're just lazy. They don't want to have to, especially if it's a murder mystery movie or that kind of now. Most action thriller stuff. They set it in modern times because they have to be cutting edge, but they figure out a way to make the cell phone, like you said, even though you have a cell phone, hey, I'm calling you because the bomb's about to blow up. Oh, but we only have 2 minutes. We're 5 minutes away. Okay, there you go. You solved the cell phone problem. You're calling for help, but it's too damn far away. It's not going to help you. So the better writers can get around that, and they can figure out that, look, there's ways we can have the cell phone in there, but it's not going to affect the plot. But the lazy writers are just like, yeah, let's just set it in 1979. And we don't have to worry about this shit.
That's true with a lot of things. I mean, in superheroes, there's a lot of like shows where it doesn't make sense. Like, how can anybody stop the Flash or, Quicksilver?
Sure.
Okay, if he can stop time basically by moving that fast, I mean, why are we even dealing with this? It just seems like a lot of genres that deal with fantasy or science fiction or even comic book stuff. There's definitely, you look at it and you're like, I don't understand why this person just didn't use this power earlier and they've been done with it.
Well, it's a whole suspension of disbelief, right? I mean, there are a lot of most genres. You're not stuck with somebody who's going to be going, well, actually, I'm a trained doctor, and what's happening in this movie is total bullshit. I do that with PD procedurals.
Oh yeah.
What was the movie with Bruce Willis? 21 Blocks or something like that. I'm watching that, and I was yelling at the screen. I'm like, what the fuck? I've done the same when I watched. Oh God, what? Not Criminal Minds. The one that's about the God, the evidence collection teams in different cities. Like,
yeah.
What's the damn show called? I can't remember.
CSI.
CSI.
I watched the CSI. I don't know. This is going back 10, 15 years. And I'm watching them bag evidence from a sexual assault / rape and putting it into plastic evidence bags. And I literally cringed and I was like, what the? Because the moment you do that, within like an hour or two, all your serological evidence, all those body fluids, they rot to the point where they're useless for any kind of testing. So you put them in paper bags, same ones you would get at your like bodega, and to watch that, it's like this is supposed to mean, but they had no showrunners that actually do any kind of research. I'm horrible for those types of shows.
Did you like the CSIs where they could get the DNA results back in like an hour, and they would sit down and go, and they show the video of the guy doing all the testing. He comes back, well, the DNA doesn't match. I'm like, yeah, 3 weeks from now it doesn't match,
right? That's
but not an hour later. Sorry, dude, that's not going to happen.
I mean, especially here's the problem: if you're in a small police department, they're not doing their own work. It has to get shipped out. And if you're in a large police department, it's a bureaucracy. So nothing happens quickly. And sometimes if you want things to get done quicker, it's amazing what a box of like Dunkin' Donuts Joe and some donut holes can do.
I think what would be cool if you kept that same conceit where they get it back in an hour, but then later on through the series you realize that the person that was doing the analysis was lying. He just making it up. And also all these people they've sent to jail, they let go. He was the mastermind.
Awesome.
He was the mastermind.
Awesome. I like it.
I control the evidence.
We got his back so quickly. This guy was just making up results. It all makes sense now.
Maybe he's got a magic 8 ball. Maybe that's just it.
That's why everybody was guilty.
He was the real killer.
Oh, but was he killing people behind the warehouse?
Yeah.
I mean, I love Dexter was a fun show, but man, the liberties they took with Dexter and police, because he worked for the police department in the TV series. He was an evidence tech or whatever, and he took off so much time to go kill people that there's no way he would have kept his job after 2 weeks. I mean, he was killing other serial killers, so he was never in the office when they needed him. Like, there's no way a department functions like that, where the main evidence tester is gone 90% of the time to go kill other people. And then,
I don't know, Mike. You've not worked in a large city police department.
That's true. He was in a small Florida City. So that
And still,
could
you
be, I
you
guess.
know, there are people that get, it's like, I know this person exists, this position exists, and I've never seen them, but they're on the paperwork, and apparently I sign off on their payroll, but I've never seen them in like 2 years.
That's a great gig if you can get it.
I never could. I wish I could. I think the best gig in one of my old commands was the what was unofficially called the Broom, and he was basically the cop that was in charge of like maintenance. So what our guy did was he would hire a homeless guy for $10 a day to sweep the floors, and then the guy would sleep on a bench by the front desk when he wasn't sweeping the floors, and then Mike would make his dollars back by making. I will give him a lot of credit. 4-star quality Italian food in the kitchen down in the basement. And back in 2000, we were charging $7 a plate. You ate like a king, and that's how he would, he'd pay off the homeless guy to do the work for him.
Unbelievable.
Genius.
Yep.
So
It's a win-win-win-win.
Win-win. Listen, the job only cared the work was getting done. They didn't care really how it was getting done, right? So,
well, we're going to wrap up the first half of the show here and tell you to. I'm disappointed we have not hit 1,800. As a matter of fact, we lost $12 a couple months ago. I'm really pissed at whoever did that. So please throw some money. Please throw some money this way, because this is a worthy project, and
yes,
we love zines. Eric and I love zines, so we're always gonna back zines here.
Yeah, I appreciate the support from everybody. It's been wonderful. It's been wonderful.
Wow.
So we're gonna talk about some interesting things tonight. I wanted to I'm gonna throw a couple stories out there, then Eric's gonna regale us with some.
No, it's not regaling. Let's not go that far.
So I want to stop and talk a little bit about last week. This weekend we laid Doug to rest. Doug Ray, co-founder of NTRPGCon, all around great guy. So he passed 2 weeks ago. We laid him to rest this Sunday. It was I went to the ceremony along with a lot of regulars, a lot of people in the room right now, and just it was great. It was a really good ceremony. We had a couple of speeches made. Gary Oliver read his wife's speech because she couldn't do it. It was too much, and some other stuff. It was a really good send off. Doug is going to be cremated, and I am not joking with you. The ashes will be at North Texas next year. Because that was Doug's wishes.
Good
so we will have the ashes from Doug at the convention next year, starting perhaps a tradition, because now I told my wife I think I may want this too. That this is a good gig. This is an awesome shtick to have your ashes at the convention. But yeah, it was we had a good time. Lots of people that Mike and Liz Stewart were there. Ben Burns were there. I mean, a lot of people that from the con were there, and it was kind of in a remote part of East Texas, so we decided to have a more centralized memorial service this weekend. So we're going to meet at the warehouse Friday and Saturday, and we're just going to hang around and talk about Doug and have a good send off for him. But anybody in the DFW area, if you want to attend, just let me know. Give you directions. If you're a member of the Facebook, I posted the directions on the Facebook North Texas RPGCon page. We'd love to see you out there. But if not, you want to be there in spirit, I think I'm going to open up a live Facebook stream.
Oh,
and I'll
really?
set up my computer. Yeah, because they have that cool new rooms or teams function or whatever they call it, where you can set a live stream up. And I think I'm going to do that and just have the camera rolling, and you'll be able to see everything going on at the memorial service. Or I say memorial service. It's going to be us just hanging out at the warehouse. Talking about Doug. So
please, that's awesome. And share out when you have the link ready, share it out. I'll make sure it gets a little extra wings behind it, because Rach has yoga instruction classes all weekend, so I'll be glued.
Well, yeah, and it's we've done a lot of talk, and you know, the convention was very important to Doug, and so we talked about it a lot. So I don't feel bad about bringing it up this soon after he's passed away, because it was something very important to him, and he did mention it quite a bit. The convention is going to go on; it's going to be fine. We've got all kinds of revenue streams. We've got Gary in charge, and Gary's a finance major and a accounting guy. I mean, he knows he's got numbers down. The numbers are fine. He's going to work all that. Doug's son David is on the ball with all the video stuff and all the online stuff. We're going to have online North Texas again this year. It might even be a little better, because that was something Doug was not that interested in handling. But David has really got that down. So we may have a Mark, the beginning at the warehouse, probably about 10 Oh, let me see. I've got a COVID test Friday morning, because I'm having some surgery next week. But so probably about noon on Friday, we'll be meeting up there. And Mark's one of the people that's going to be flying into town to attend the memorial. So that's awesome. The Barshes will be too. But yeah, the convention's going to be going. The convention will be going on. We're going to hopefully have the signups ready pretty soon, and we'll have that up on Tabletop Events, and we hope to just keep rolling along like usual. Oh, I was going to say, so David and Gary have their. I'm just going to do whatever it is I do. You know, schmooze, I guess, is what I do for the con. But between all three of us, we're not going to have a problem. It'll work out, and we have a ton of goodwill in the community. So it's going to be cool. It's sad, but it's going to be great going forward. We're going to be able to handle it, and we plan on doing this for however long you guys want to do it. So awesome. We'll have a convention every year. I mean, for until we're all gone, then somebody else will keep running it, I'm sure, at some point. So yeah, this is a forever thing here.
So in other words, Ben should start getting his convention shoes ready.
Hopefully hopefully get the grandkids to run it someday, but who knows, or hopefully maybe we can do like Dragon Con did and run it for about 20 or 30 years and sell it for what those guys made like $1 million a piece or something. The Dragon Con I think they're still making the money. I think they're stockholders, so they still get like $1.2 million every year or something for the con. So maybe we'll do that. That'd be awesome.
Isn't Dragon Con where Ken Whitman's old roommate used to be?
Oh yeah, there's a long story about that. We could have a great show about that someday. But that was a whole novel about how they had to get him kicked out of the con because he was a pedophile and he was one of the original stockholders in the con. They had to buy him out to get rid of him because he wouldn't leave. That was a good gig. I mean, these guys were making tons of money. They started Dragon Con. It just got so big so quick, and they formed board of directors, blah blah, this and that. And next thing you know, all the original owners I don't even think they attend the con anymore. They're making like $2 or $3 million a year from their stock in the con. That's a big, one of the biggest cons in the United States. That's probably one of the 2 or 3 biggest cons in the United States. But yeah, the guy, the pedophile dude, Ed, whatever his name was, I can't remember. They had a time getting him out of there because he was trying to soak them for every last cent they had because he wasn't going to give up his stake in the con unless they just showered money on him, and he needed money at the time because he was his lawyer was fighting all these charges. But yeah, that was a mess for them. But yeah, those guys they're doing just fine now. So maybe who knows? Maybe we'll make $1 million off this thing someday. Cha-ching. Can't wait.
I don't think so.
Probably not. Since we've committed to only having 500 people for the near future, I don't think we're going to do it.
Now, if it was 50,000, maybe.
Well, one of the things Gary and Dave and I have been very careful about telling everybody is we want to retain the way the con is for everybody. We want it to be like Doug wanted it, and so we're not going to get bigger and have a giant con. So we want somebody to go there 5 years from now and say, wow, this is cool. This must have been how the con was 15 years ago. And we're going to be able to say, yeah, it was. It's the same con. Hasn't changed that much at all. So we're gonna bring the retro future con experience to everybody.
Ooh.
That's what's going to be the retro con experience. We're not interested in getting bigger and making a lot of money. So
John Miller says you need 500 millionaires at the con to do the trick.
That might. I don't know if that's a great business plan. That might get a lot of regular people out, push them out of the con. We don't want that, definitely.
We can move it to the horticultural hall. And
no, I'm Lanasa's already got that thing booked up. So
yeah.
Or is it? Or, wait, is he doing it there? Yeah, he's doing it there.
Yeah, he's doing it at horticultural.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Wenger is doing it at in Madison at an actual hotel.
Right, because that way you have places to stay and places to park. That's a great idea.
Maybe that'll catch on. Maybe more people start doing that.
Maybe, perhaps. Holiday weekend, Lake Geneva, no parking, no hotels, go. So,
well, it's going to be the funnest train wreck to watch that we've had to watch in a long time. So I guess maybe he'll get it going. Maybe it'll work out. Who knows? I don't know.
I don't know if you can hear the Pentecostals singing in the background, but I certainly can.
Do you think it'll be running?
It makes me feel like I'm being cleansed of my sins, which I'm sure there are many. I'm sure they're singing for me. Yes, Wild Eye Woodard, Primordial.
Yeah, we had some. We had Deinhardt and Lanasa sightings this week. Not anything too exciting. I know that I saw the Deinhardt Jeff D's working with us post. It was hilarious.
Oh God! And Jeff's denial. I'm going to give Jeff credit because Jeff can be very what's what I'm looking for, beyond forceful, very obnoxious in his political stances, and he was actually very much fairly neutral in how, for Jeff, mind you, fairly neutral in how he addressed this, but basically was like, listen, I'm not part of the team. I did freelance work, but here's where it gets real flaky. When Jeff goes, but I'm not sure who actually I made my contract with. Like,
what is that supposed to mean? Even I don't understand.
It's like it seems to me, and I don't want to put words in D's mouth, but it seems to me that he was trying to say, well, I don't know if I dealt with Deinhardt or James Ward or somebody else. Kind of like saying, well, I may have done a contract with somebody that I thought I knew, but then it wasn't with the person I thought.
Yeah,
it's a Weasley way of trying to say, yeah, maybe I was dealing with Deinhardt and that was stupid of me. No, he's trying to not do that. But then Deinhardt removed his post, Jeff's post, where he was saying, please don't sell your product as I'm on the team when I was just a freelancer doing work for hire. And then they banned Jeff D.
Yep.
From the Jointlands page. And I think that is just so childish. I mean, I listen, I have what is it, the real Justin Lanasa, or the original Justin Lanasa, or whatever Justin's new YouTube account is, throwing comments up all over YouTube. I'm not deleting them. I find them amusing, much as I find Justin amusing. So, but when you take somebody like Jeff D and you block them and remove them, you're not helping your situation out. You're just getting somebody with a large following to get pissed off even more, and which is what happened.
Well, I think also you're trying to claim legitimacy, and here you're by tagging people that were from the original. Well, maybe not original, but from the early days. So you're even further.
Yeah, Wonderfield likes to claim that they're more TSR than the new TSR.
You can't get any more TSR than
this. You can't get any more TSR than Filled with Wonder. But gentlemen, do you guys want to go to a theme park? Because I understand there's a theme park that's out there.
Do it.
We're going to go to the Giantlands theme park, right?
Maybe we get some free tickets or something.
Oh yeah, because I think we're going to get comped. Yeah,
sure.
No.
And we get T-shirts with Jeff D's art on it.
Oh,
probably not now.
By the way, Owlbear droppings. That surprisingly enough, that never occurred to me to refer to Lanasa as Lanata. that is actually amusing. I'm sorry that I never thought of it. And I'm a New Yorker, and I'm generally obnoxious, so I should have thought of it. But
La nada.
Hey, la nada.
So the kind of big news for the week, I don't know if it's not necessarily that RPG oriented news, but it's interesting because of the names that are named in this. There was a drop this week of a lawsuit by a whistleblower for a company, and they're alleging all kinds of stuff this company has done. But the most interesting thing in here, and the stuff that you focused on, I saw in your post today, was the fact that there are some prominent gaming personalities mentioned in this filing, and this could have repercussions going beyond just the SEC, or I don't know where this goes really. I know the whistleblower guy wants a lot of money, is what it boils down to, for the way he was treated for the 9 years he worked there, and just things he had to do, and the stuff that went on at the company. He basically just throws his company under the bus. But it's his company's attachments or connections to a gaming personality that were of interest.
Right. And that's here's the thing. I mean, if you read through the 104 pages, they are linked at tenkarstavern.com. I'm not going to put the link up in the chat. Go to tenkarstavern.com. It's the latest post. There is a link so you can snag your own copy of the 104 pages of this lawsuit. And I'd advise you to get some chips or wine and cheese and settle down for a good hour-long reading, because I cover the stuff that's relevant to gaming. All right? Mentions of Luke Gygax, Gary Kahn, Luke's other company, Monster Madness, or whatever it was.
Mike Nose mentioned in there, and Iron Wind.
Iron Wind is mentioned. So I cover that. But the allegations directed at Ken Turbovich, affectionately known as Turbo, and if you've gone to Gary Kahn, you've probably seen Ken. I had somebody reach out to me today and go, "Oh yeah, I saw the picture from one of the newspaper articles." And
I have a turbo knife right here.
Well, Mike, I remember when he came over to the table.
Yeah,
he goes,
it's a great knife too, by the way. Great knife.
I mean, they are. I was told that apparently in 2019, the diamond level attendees in their swag bag got Gary Kahn machetes.
What?
Wow. Okay, that's cool.
Now, as somebody who flies to conventions, right? If I got a Gary Kahn machete, I'd be like, how does this go back in my carry-on luggage? Just explain to me. Excuse me, TSA. No, it's okay. I got this as conswag. I know it's a machete.
This is like the best and the worst at the same time. Like I can't conceive of anything that is both cool and stupid at the same time.
Yeah, it's like how does that work out? It's like, well, I think we have these great machetes. I think they should go to convention attendees that are RPG. Don't you know what? Maybe we don't give them to the 5e players because they might not be able to handle the sharp edges. They need something a little bit less dangerous. Maybe we'll give them blunted machetes. They can sharpen it at home, so we don't get.
So what do you do with a machete? You got a machete. I mean, there's usually just use machete for clearing brush, right? Well, or zombie apocalypse. I mean, it's really your only two reasons for having a machete.
No. I will tell you from somebody who's lived in an urban environment. If you go to bodegas in certain communities, machetes are right behind the counter. So if somebody tries to do something, I got my machete, and it also opens up coconuts.
Yes, it will.
Yes,
right?
very much so.
So if you are in the right neighborhood and you're thirsty, and somebody has coconuts that they're selling for you to partake in, there's your machete use. And far be it from me as a uniformed officer, if you were using a machete to open up coconuts, it was a work tool. It wasn't a dangerous weapon out in the streets that could have been considered a sword. But there's uses for it. What the use is at Gary Kahn, I don't know.
Well, but not even at the Gary comment. What do you do when you say, you know what, this is going to be something people are going to love. This is going to be something that's memorable. You're diamond level. What's the one thing that people can go home and brag about and display? A machete?
A knife.
If you gave me, like, we made our own version of Sting, all right, that's cool. I'll put it up on my wall.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, I think I do have my own version of Sting in a closet from one of those, like, you know, back in the magazines where you used to be like, get your gold-plated ring. I think I got like Sting one year.
Wait a second,
Like,
you have the singer for the Police in a closet in your house.
You know what?
No.
This is weird. This is getting really weird.
It was more apropos back in the 80s, but not so much now.
I lost track of this. You mean the sword? Oh, the sword Sting. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Machetes are the new rapiers. Yes.
So take us through this magical mystery tour of Folly, because I read it this weekend when I wasn't at Doug's Memorial, and I had to read it again because I read it the first time. I said, let's go over this one more time because this is crazy ass shit. Now, I will say that I worked at a savings loan for many years. I saw filings like this, and the point of a filing like this is you throw everything against the wall and see what sticks. And half of it's probably true, a quarter of it's exaggerated, a quarter of it's total bullshit. But this is how you leverage money out of people you're trying to sue. Is saying, look, they did all these. I'm going to throw everything against the wall and see what sticks because they did all these things. Maybe some of them happened the same way that they say. Maybe some didn't. There's probably a little truth in there. There's a little exaggeration. I thought the author of the paper was unintentionally hilarious about the way he kept insisting that he was just really upset about the way he was forced to go to strip clubs and party all night long and drink a lot.
They poured wax on my chest.
The region girls poured wax on my chest, and I hated every minute of it. It was terrible.
It was humiliating. Well, maybe it's hairy. Maybe it was painful.
But what's the gist of this? Let me have your expertise.
All right. So first off, what I did not address in the article I put up on the blog, and if you want to read the more, I'm trying to find the right words for some of this stuff, and it's not ludicrous, and it's listen, if you want to read some of the most sexually disturbing stuff that you're going to read outside of a soft porn novel, read this, because you're going to be like, oh, what the? And apparently there's certain rituals that go on that I had no clue about, which salacious. Yeah, thank you, Alvaro Droppings. Yes, that's a good word. And one of the important things that, at least as we are concerned in the gaming community, and possibly as attendees of GaryCon, is that GaryCon gets mentioned as something that employees from Servotronics got sent to on company dime, on company time, to do things like unload trucks for GaryCon, which is does it affect GaryCon in any way? No. Does it reflect poor on Servotronics and how they were using the company's money? Potentially. But what was interesting, and again, I am not in the legal profession. I am not in the financial profession. So what this means in a larger term, I can only guess and surmise. Oh, well, now we have our lawyer in the room. We got to change tactics.
Mr. Beard.
Mr. Beard, I presume. So one of the things that the complaint in this lawsuit brings up repeatedly is the fact that Luke Gygax was brought on as an independent board member. And apparently an independent board member is supposed to be someone who is not influenced by company politics, company executives, or other board members when it comes to their vote. And then Luke was appointed chair of the company's independent directors committee, which was also apparently in charge of their compensation for their executives. Now, again, on its surface, okay. But then the complaint says that Luke was vacationing in Eastern Europe on the company dime with Turbo and other members of the company. And if you're independent and not being influenced by executives, how can you be going to these working vacations and not be influenced? Luke was getting compensated by the company for his position, $60,000 a year in salary and something 25,000 a year in stock options. These were brought up by one of the taverners. I didn't. This wasn't part of the filing. Somebody else brought this up. Was nice enough to share it with me. So I'm going to say flat out. Much of what I get to share is because of other people in the community bringing things to my attention. So I can't thank people enough. So I found that out. Then in 2020, Turbo Kenneth Turbovich got a 70% increase in his yearly compensation from the company. Theoretically, that means that it would have been Luke's committee that would have approved of that. So again, I am not a lawyer. I don't work in the finance industry. I don't know what this, the long-term stuff. To my untrained eyes, does it look not so good? Yeah, to me it looks not so good. But again, and then I went through this thing literally page by page, pulling out stuff that this thing details Turbo sexually harassing, retaliating people. Again, has very little to do with GaryCon, except for the fact that Turbo was either an employee or a volunteer for GaryCon. I don't know for how many years, up until 2019. But 2019 was the last year of in-person con attendance, right? So, that would make sense. That would be the last time he participated. But Turbo is, again, the person that gave knives to Mike and I. And again, I've heard stories that he does this a lot. I was surprised and was kind of like, don't know what we do with this. But there's a complaint that he gave away hundreds or thousands of dollars worth of knives and bladed items at the con. Now, they're coming from the Ontario Knife Company. The Ontario Knife Company is the company that supplies bayonets to the U.S. Marine Corps. So they're not a nothing supplier. They make quality stuff, like Mike was telling you.
They make. I think they said their earnings are $50 million a year. That's not.
I'm not sure if it's Ontario or Servtronics.
Maybe that's Servtronics. Yeah,
Servtronics
right.
is, I think, $60 million is what I thought I heard, but
maybe
it's large.
Yes.
So there are accusations in this suit that Luke was not an independent vote. Again, it's an accusation. We can't go much beyond it. Now, Luke did reach out to me. Luke did tell me that Turbo got involved with the con because one year their operations manager, operations director, I forget the title, so I'm not going to quote me on the title, was caught taking money from the till on the first day of the con, got removed from his position, and Turbo stepped up to help the con. I have a source that seems fairly reliable that tells me that what happened is that the again, operations manager or operations director was somebody that was in rehab for narcotics and alcohol abuse. Turbo got them to step off the wagon, and they were unable to do their job. And that's when Turbo and others came in to fill the gap, and then Turbo stuck around. Both stories could be true, because if you are abusing narcotics, you often go to petty theft to take care of your habit. So I don't see the two versions being mutually exclusive of each other. But that's apparently there's that Turbo became actively involved in the convention at that point. So the lawsuit goes on to say that like Turbo, there's allegations that it looks like Turbo was trying to launder money through the convention. I guess writing off expenses. I don't know. Again, I'm not an accountant. I don't want to, these are allegations that are made in the lawsuit. Allegations are just that. But there's enough of these allegations and enough of stuff that semi-rings true, like giving away of, bladed items.
I mean, there's enough in there that, like I said, Eric and I have seen some of this because we've seen Turbo at the con, and
yes,
and we hear things. I mean, this isn't this is a lot of stuff isn't a secret among people that go to these cons. They talk about this, and we've heard a lot of talk about Turbo over the years and just different his relationships. And I know we're going to get the inevitable question if Eric hasn't got it yet. Well, what does this have to do with D&D gaming? Why don't you talk about 5.5 or do that? I mean, yeah, okay, I understand, but it could have implications, and we don't know what's going to happen with this, but that there's some pretty prominent names in gaming mentioned in this filing. I would ask people to read it themselves. Unless you've read it yourself, it doesn't make a lot. What Eric and I are saying, it's a long and winding road in this deposition. This guy who whistleblowed, he worked there for 9 years, and so he apparently kept very extensive notes over what happened that 9 years.
And as an investigator, that's the first thing that you're looking for when somebody says, "Hey, this long-term series of abuse was happening." All right. Well, yeah, it could have happened back in May of last year, or was it the year before? Mm-hmm. No, this guy has things not just down to the month, but often down to the day, which means he was documenting stuff. Now, does it mean that he was documenting stuff that was accurate? Don't know.
And he's gonna, and once again, he's gonna make this sound like it was the worst place that any human could ever work in ever, because he wants is like $800,000 or more. I can't remember.
No.
Is it $8 million?
No, it's $5 million.
Oh.
I believe, but I think it's $5 million per piece of what he's looking. It's either $5 million or like $25 million.
So he's going to make this seem like this is the worst place any human could ever work in history. But darn it, he worked there for 9 years, even though it was so bad. But that's just how these things go, And like I said, I've seen these before, and I'm sure most lawyers see these filings where they make it look really bad. Now, what Ty would mention earlier is, have we seen an answer, which we have not yet? I don't believe, but that's what a company usually does, is answer these things and say, here's why this is all bullshit, and they go piece by piece, and they'll say, look, first of all, this guy's a piece of garbage, and we'll tell you the things he did that he's not letting you know, and and they'll go over it. So yes, that's actually important too, that someday we see something from Servtronics or even Luke publicly that says, I'm going to answer these questions, and this is why it's just garbage. So we'll see the company's answer to the suit at some point. But it's disturbing. I read it and I was very disturbed, Eric. I just, because it's there's enough stuff that I know is being true in there to make it disturbing to me.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. When you can read this and say, all right, yeah, this and this, without even going to a third party to validate it, I can say my personal knowledge, that happened. Then it makes you see, well, if that happened, then how much of the rest of it happened? And then again, my suspicion, and I'm sure Ty can correct me if I'm wrong, is that it's most likely that this will not actually go to trial. There's very few of these things do, because you don't want discovery, because most companies don't want the accounting to be accounted for.
Yeah, definitely.
And you don't want to put a judgment into the hands of jackasses like me, because I've been on a number of juries, and juries are full of jackasses, and they are literally a wild card. You don't know how they're going to rule. You're better off with a negotiated agreement that both sides can live with than rolling the dice, and it's like the company's like suddenly bankrupt with a $40 million judgment, or it's like, oh yeah, we found him. Yeah, he did it. However, we're going to give you a judgment for $1 plus expenses because really you're just a douche yourself. I mean, that's what it could come down to. So you don't want to leave that into the jury's hands. I did find it interesting that oh God, what's the name of the miniatures company that was mentioned? Oh, Iron Wind.
Iron Wind. Mike knows company.
Supposedly, Turbo is mentioned as a silent partner in Iron Wind Metals. So that's interesting. I don't know if it's applicable. Actually, it would make sense that a company that makes knives might actually own a miniature company.
I mean, I got this impression. I'm reading through it. Is it? I know Turbo and Luke are friends, but I got this. Could be totally off on this, but it was like Turbo must have liked gaming, some part of gaming, or gotten something out of it, because it seemed like he wanted to be part of it. And then once there was an opportunity for him, he was in. He's like, okay, yeah, Gary Con, I'll do something with that. Let's go get Iron Wind over here, and we're gonna do this. I mean, and he put Luke on the board. I mean, this guy, once he got in, he's like a fanboy. It's like, yeah, let's get all these guys,
Well, I mean, they actually mentioned that Nightfall, which was an adventure written by Chris Clark, Luke, and Turbo, in the lawsuit. And it's mentioned that Turbo wrote it under his Turbo pseudonym, so it wouldn't be known by the board and the company that he was writing this. Now, I was given information that neither Turbo nor Chris were paid for their work.
Uh-huh.
This was all, the profits were going to Luke and the convention. So if Turbo was involved in it, does it really, besides the fact that he looks like a piece of crap because of this suit, it's one of those things, if even 10% of what you read here is true,
yeah,
you wouldn't want to be associated with him. But it doesn't, he wasn't getting paid for the work. So now, catching up on Ty Beard, the independent director is not precluded from being friends with executives and other board members. A lot depends on how accurate are allegations that company funds were expended for Luke's benefit. The CEO was typically given a fair amount of leeway in determining how to spend company funds on marketing. Now, I don't know. I mean, when we were handed the knives, I didn't know Turbo from a hole in the wall. I think it was my first con.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know where they were coming from. I was just like, hey, these people are handing us a whole bunch of knives. I guess that's
really nice knives too.
Yeah,
very nice knives. Yeah.
I was like, dude, you got to ship them to me. I'm still waiting for that. And electric shaver.
I shipped them to Bill. He's supposed to ship them to you. Bill says he never got them.
Yeah.
End of knife story. So I don't know where they're at. I have no clue where they're at. They went to the post office, dead letter office, maybe. I don't know.
Listen, I wouldn't be surprised there either. Ty, Turbo could possibly defend some expenditures on Gary Con as publicity. Again,
interesting.
It certainly could. Again, this becomes accusations, and it could be that the whistleblower didn't know that. All right, well, we have some members of our Servotronics team going to the con to represent the company and make connections. I do know that, like North Texas, you'll be amazed at the number of business connections that are made at this place at North Texas.
Sure.
I'm sure that something like that could happen at something like GaryCon tenfold, maybe, because of the number of attendees and vendors you have there. Because GaryCon, unlike North Texas, everything there is pretty much related to role-playing games directly, whereas GaryCon goes the next step, and you'll be, oh wow, I could get my custom game table, ordered from here, or I could get this. So the I guess the number of degrees from direct role playing is a lot greater at GaryCon potentially. So I could see that going. Oh my God.
Oh, what happened?
I lost my place here. 500 plus paragraphs. Ty, it's a long petition. Yes, it is. And Albert forces the defense team to address each part of the complaint. they had to have filed an answer in the case. Well, they filed in June, and that's the thing too. Now this was filed in June. I didn't know about it until this weekend when somebody was nice enough to drop this in my as a PM early Saturday morning and ruin the rest of my fucking weekend because it was just a flaming bag of shit. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. It was out there already for 3 months. And I know that because there are people that are more connected than I am who are like, oh, yeah, I knew that was out there. So people weren't surprised. It was something that was simmering in the background. It was that bag of poop on the porch that when they lit it, it just kind of was a little wet and took a while before the flames started kicking. And now the flames are beginning.
Yeah, this wasn't something that Eric thought up one afternoon just for laughs. This was posted by, well, actually, I saw it on Matt Forbeck's page, but I mean, it was posted in several spots this weekend. It's suddenly, for some bizarre reason, just people noticed, oh, this has been out there for like 2 months or however long it was, and said, oh, yeah, it mentions this stuff, so let's get it all out there. So this is a talking point long before we discovered it. We were not first on the scene here by any means.
What's the connection between Turbo and Iron Crown? I don't know if Iron Crown is not listed.
Iron Wind and Iron Crown are two totally different things.
Yeah, Iron Crown is ice.
No, there's no connection.
They're a miniatures company.
It's Iron Wind is the company.
There we go. All right. Or the connection between Turbo and Monster Fight Club. Turbo is, in the case of those two, is either a secret investor, part owner, washing money from the company through it. So it isn't detailed. Those are things that if you suddenly go to court, now you're going to have to do discovery and you're going to be asking for details on, hey, is Turbo a part owner of Iron Wind? It's like, well, can we say we'll need the Iron Wind paperwork, their incorporation paperwork, who's listed on it, and then you go from there. Like Ty says, he thinks that this is going to be settled.
Sure,
at some point.
It makes perfect sense. I mean, Ty probably has stats in this, but I mean, this is like they always say, like court cases. Something like 85% or whatever settled before the small part where there's actually a jury picked are the small. And I've been on a jury before where they settled before we even sat down. Where all it take was the jury getting picked, and then boom, we're settled. You guys can go home. So that's the whole point of a lot of this stuff. Just get a settlement quick, and let's not put this in the system, because Eric says all kinds of weird ass shit can happen once you get in front of a jury. You have no clue what they're going to do. And so yeah, I can there's a huge percentage of these are probably settled beforehand. I bet you this sounds like one of them. Like, look, this guy, let's just shut his ass up.
Yeah,
we'll give you something. We're not giving you $8 million, but we'll figure out something.
Well, and the reason is because you don't want, and this is my opinion, having read the lawsuit. Again, my post only covered where Gary Kahn or gaming companies or Luke were mentioned specifically. There's a lot of accusations in here that if they are true, you don't want them confirmed. So it's a lot smarter to pay out than to go through a trial and then have to answer to allegations that are included in
it. And then some people will say, like, well, how does this affect Gary Kahn? Well, it might not affect it at all. I mean, it may not have any effect. We don't know. I mean, it probably shouldn't. It depends on what Turbo's relationship with Gary Kahn was. If he was funneling him money every year so they could stay open, then it might have an effect on it. If that wasn't happening, then it probably just goes on. It's going to take a little hit rep-wise because, Turbo doesn't seem like a very nice person if you read this filing. But it may have no effect. It's just of interest because it does mention some, big names in the industry. And so we would be derelict in our duties if we didn't at least mention it, that this is something that's come up. And like I said, I could just see the people that are already like, well, this doesn't have anything to do with D&D, man. And you must hate Luke, which we don't hate Luke at all. And it doesn't necessarily have something to do with D&D yet. We don't know.
Right. But Turbo was a very large presence, whatever his role was at Gary Kahn. His presence was large. And if you're an attendee, you probably saw him. Somebody reached out to me tonight and was like, "Oh, I finally saw the article where Turbo got, as Ty just mentioned, he was placed on leave as CEO. There was an article, I guess in the Buffalo News or whatever, that has a picture of Turbo. And like, I get this PM. It's like, oh my God, I remember that guy walking around Gary Con with these two hot smoking women on his arm all the time. I'm like, okay, well, why is it relevant? Because people remember him from the con because he was involved in a lot of stuff at the con. You know, he was part of the team. So it's relevant, but will it have a long-term effect? Hopefully not.
Yeah.
But it's certainly the elephant in the room. If we didn't address it, we would hear, why didn't you address it? You're covering for Luke and covering for Gary Con.
So we have to at least mention it because it's made the rounds, right? And everybody that's read it is just like, holy shit, this is some weird shit. Yeah, and it is. It's over the top stuff. But and I was telling Eric something, and we kind of forget this. Eric doing what we do is that 80% of people play D&D don't give a shit about this stuff. They don't even know about it. And my favorite story is the one where when we were playing D&D, I grew up in Texas, and we were in Texas. And so there's a letter one day in Dragon Magazine that, hey, Gary Gygax is leaving TSR. I had no clue why. I didn't find out for another 20 years, until I got to know people in the know. But apparently this is well known all up in Gen Con territory and Wisconsin and all that because they were really close to the story. So I just didn't know. So most people, I played D&D. It didn't bother me one bit. I just kept playing D&D. Oh, wow. That sucks that Gary doesn't work for the company anymore. He's not going to write anything, any cool stuff. But we just kept playing. And the same thing with this. This is the kind of thing that the gaming nerds and people who watch this channel care about, but most people that are interested in D&D, it's just, I mean, at its highest point, Gary Con only had 3,000 people come there, and how many people play D&D? Millions.
Yeah.
It's most of the stories that Eric and I do. We realize it's a very small subset of the gaming population that even cares about it because they're just like they're off rolling dice. They don't give a shit about us, what we're doing. But it's of interest enough that to people who listen to the channel that we felt we had to talk about it.
Right. Now, that being said, since the post went up this morning, have I been getting, and I said this in the Tenkar's Tavern community on Facebook, have I been getting phone calls, PMs, emails from people with either questions or relating incidents that, yes. So, I mean, if you have something that you want to share, you can reach me at tenkars.tavern@gmail.com or PM me on Facebook. It's all confidential. Again, this is what it is. This lawsuit is what it is. But again, like how Turbo came into becoming part of the Gary Con team. There's a discrepancy in the story, but again, the two stories could actually come together and just be different perspectives as to what happened. Mm-hmm. So, as we get the clearer picture, we'll know what's going on. Yeah, I know. I was an investigator for my last 12 years. I can't help but do what I do. Shadzar, Games Workshop fraudulent reviews due to the NDA agreement. No, we're not talking about that, but that sounds damn interesting. And another freaking rabbit hole. Thank you for that.
Shadzar, you make a point, and that's one of the reasons. Man, I don't want to get too opinionated here, but that's one of the reasons that if you're a Gygax, you really need to be above board because there's people out there that really want to get you, and they do. They want to get Gary Con, they want to get the Gygaxes. You have to be above and beyond the Call of Duty very much, without scandal. I think if I had to give my opinion on it, I think it's a bad decision for Luke to be too close to this guy just because he's got this shit in his closet, this Turbo guy, and that's you're right. It's going to be used as ammunition to attack the Gygaxes. It certainly is, by the people that hey already don't like him and are just looking for an excuse. So, but that just means you have to stay away from that kind of shit. You got to stay out of there. And Luke's done some really good work in the last few years about meeting people from Hollywood that can help the brand name, and he presents a good image about the company to to outside people that think all gaming nerds are look like Eric and I. And not so much Jeff, because Jeff's actually a good-looking guy, but mostly Eric and me.
Yeah, well, Jeff is the. I'm going to stay out of the burning pile of shit and just step to the side, let you guys dive into it. I don't blame him. But Ty, I have to say the details seem awfully lurid, and it's strange it's not coming out until now. Again, like I said, my communication methods were on fire today, and I have had people confirm certain aspects of the suit that have nothing to do with Gary Con, nothing to do with Luke, everything to do with Turbo, and it certainly reinforces the allegations against Turbo. So, that is something that doesn't make me feel all that happy, because for anybody like that to be involved in gaming on any level, it's a black eye on the industry.
Yeah, we don't want. Yeah, who wants to see that? Because there's so few of these small conventions like this, out there, that we don't want to see this stuff. And there was a Twitter person that popped up that threw a whole shitload of accusations against Luke and Turbo. That was some shocking stuff. And so who knows? I mean, we don't know, but it's just it's weird that it came out when it did. I think it was almost like it was coordinated, right, Eric? The way it just all of a sudden it just broke everywhere on the same day. Like, where was this stuff 2 weeks ago or 2 months ago or whatever?
Right. There's got to be an incident that set this off. It could be that how many people were at Gen Con this year? 30, 40,000. I don't know what the numbers were this year.
It was close. I think it was close to about 35. They said. So,
all right. So it could be that bringing together of people got people talking about what was going on. Sometimes if there's enough tinder, you just need a spark, and that could have been the spark. I don't know. I simply don't know. But this has been the elephant in the room, at least since the weekend. And I had to address it. We had to address it. Is it one and done? I doubt it. I think stuff will probably be coming out. But we'll see. Hopefully, all we're going to see is more stuff about Turbo. He really does seem like a potentially, all right, allegedly, a real lowlife.
So there's until people come out and say name names and say names. This is about all we can do about it. We don't know, but I also want to cover something real quick. I know we're getting 9:00. Oh, and by the way, we've got Jeff's Kickstarter's up to 1772. So we have a possibility to get over $300. $1,800. Let's try to get that over 18. That's really close.
Come on, folks, let's do it again. I'm going to hold it up right now. I have Jesus.
Next time, I guess not a green cover. Is that what I need to do? Not a green cover.
But hey,
it works. It looks fine.
There we go. I have the proof. It hides me. I have the proof copy. It is awesome. It's got great quality paper, great color, great layout, because he's the layout guy for Torchlight and Swords of Wizardry Continual Light. So you don't get my horrible fucking hack job.
Can we say one real quick word about there's actually some really huge news that we had so much other stuff to talk about. It was announced today in 3 years we're going to see D&D 5.5, which is they probably should have had a bigger hit than it did. I'm surprised it didn't get as much publicity as I thought it might, but I think they're doing as much as we rip on WotC. I'll just say this real quick. I know we're, like I said, it's over after 9 already. As much as we rip on WotC, this is exactly the way to do it. They're giving a 3-year lead time, and they're saying it's going to be fully backwards compatible. That's what more can you ask for? That is a great business plan going forward right there.
Well, hey, one of the taverners pointed this out to me earlier today. Do you realize we're not actually we don't do? Does anybody here actually play 5.0?
I don't. No.
Right.
No.
But guess what? You're not playing 5.0 if you're playing by the current SRD. You know what you're playing? 5.1.
That's correct, because if you look at because they had that whole year or 2 years where they were testing stuff out. Remember, they had, Hordes of Dragons, Spear, all those modules that they premiere at conventions that were testing it out. And you're absolutely correct. That was all 5.0, and then once they figured out what they did and didn't like, then what you're actually playing is 5.1.
1795. We're almost there.
Come on,
baby needs new shoes. Baby needs new shoes.
Come on, you want to put money into the hands of actual creators. That's the way to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, really, you're right, because what this is a vote. Whenever you see projects like this, it's just a vote, and not that everything has to make a lot of money, but it's really, at the end of the day, people are going to evaluate whatever project it is that you want to see. You need to vote with your dollars, because if you buy things, people will make more things. If not, then they'll probably be doing other things. So.
Yeah, Jeff was just telling us about a taco truck he wanted to buy. Don't put him in a taco truck.
Taco truck, that's where it's at.
No, he needs to be doing layouts and doing creative stuff. No
Cousin Louie says, "Join on the taco truck. Take that Kickstarter money, and we'll start tacos."
No taco truck. No, it's
tacos.
Keep them in gaming.
Yeah, I got plenty of plans. I'm not going away. This is doing fairly well. I'm pleased. And there's more stuff coming. Next year too, in a big way. So at least I'm hoping.
And next year is right around the block.
I know.
Yikes! Oh dear, it's October. October starts Friday. Oh my God!
It's kind of scary.
Well, tomorrow is New Car Thursday. I get to trade in my car and get a 2021 Forester. So.
Oh, I'd like to see that contract. That sounds like a nice contract.
If you just bought a taco truck instead, you can make money off of it.
I don't want a taco truck. That's too much work. I want my 6-speaker Harman Kardon surround sound in my car, which I'll probably never enjoy because I play podcasts in my car. So I don't think that 6-speaker surround is going to make a big difference in, listening to the latest. Save for half or something like that. It's not going to make a huge dent in my listening enjoyment. Damn it!
But this getting back to the 5.5. This is I think this is a really good plan, and I'm let's just say this is the anti Paizo.
Yeah.
The way Paizo did 2.0. Like, hey, guess what? We're just going to throw this at you one day. Even though you might have projects in the pike for Pathfinder 1.0, we're just going to tell you that in 6 months, those are all going to be obsolete. So forget about your Kickstarters and stuff. Oh, and by the way, too, it's not backwards compatible.
No.
Oh.
Why would we do that when we want you to buy all new books?
I want you to buy new books. No.
Yeah, even though I'm not a big fan of 5e, I think is the best thing to happen to gaming. It's in our time.
You can play you can play your 5e. You can still play your 5e. I mean, you can play your 4e. You can play your 3e. I mean, yeah, that's the great thing about D&D, right?
Yeah, well, the thing is they're bringing the people in. They are bringing the people in. And you look at like old school essentials, which is going gangbusters. I may be wrong, but let's say there was no 5e and let's say it just died on the vine. There probably would be no old school essentials. There probably be a lot of these products that would not be doing as well as they are.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So they definitely are, even if you get angry thinking they're ruining your game by allowing options like maybe not having combat during an encounter, they're still doing the work that needs to be done. They're bringing people to the game.
They've got a good system set up because, like as Shaz are saying, is they've got it now where you got at least they've got parts, but you honestly don't need all those parts to play. I mean, it's good. It's cool to have that, and they've done a good job of making you say like, "Wow, I want to go out and buy Tash's Book of Magic. I want to go buy this." But you don't need any of that. I mean, you don't have to. I mean, and that's the great thing about D&D from the very beginning is all you ever needed was the rule book, the monster book, and the DM guide, and actually for a long time, all the way from 1970, 8 through 2000, the game was totally cross compatible. I'm sorry, 1E and 2E are barely different in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
So you could still be playing in 1999 with a first edition rule book and not run into too much friction. And likewise, you could be running Tomb of Horrors with the 2E rule book, and everything worked out fine. So it's only since 2000 when they came out with 3, 3.0 or 3.5 that just totally said, hey, we're going to do something totally different here, that you really had to run out and buy brand new rule books to even play the game or to figure out what's going on. So,
yeah, and I really despise 3.5 and 3.0, but again, I think that came at the right time, and it kept the hobby, at least kept D&D going for a while. That I don't think it would have otherwise.
That and the OGL, I mean, that
yes,
that was huge. that is a game changer of the most epic proportions ever, because without that, we wouldn't have the OSR.
No,
so OSR, any of that stuff, and it's people don't realize how much that effect that had on the publishing world from the years like 2000 about 2005, because everybody that had an idea. Now, yes, was there a glut of product that sucked balls? Yes, of course there was, because there's a lot of bad stuff in there too. But was there a lot of really kick-ass creative efforts in there also? Oh yes.
Yeah.
And it led to the eventual beginnings of the OSR.
But I think even as important, not even more important, it's like it's also become a trend even within other games systems or other game companies of opening up their game systems to other people. So it set a precedent that echoes throughout even the indie games. And so all it's done is foster more creativity.
Well, here's something that we haven't mentioned. I know I haven't mentioned because I kind of grew up. It came across my not gonna say news feed. It was actually again a taverner who messaged me, and then everything else started falling to shit this weekend, so I forgot. Paizo is going to be doing their equivalent of the DMs Guild, opening up their settings for people. But again, they're taking that 50%, so that's going to be again. That's my problem with the DMs Guild, is that you're publishing stuff, and right away you're giving away half your cover price.
No, to me, that's not the worst part. The worst part, I think, if you do the DMs Guild, you give away all your rights to it.
All right, sorry. Sorry, I forgot that. And if we had Rob Conley on, Rob would have schooled me on forgetting that part.
That's the worst part. That's the worst part.
You can't even publish it in for a different game system.
It's gone. Yeah,
it's gone. You're stuck in the guild. And if you bring in something that you published prior and brought it in, then you're gonna lose. Oh yeah, no, Rob schooled me on that, and he'll probably school me on it after this for forgetting that.
But you think about that when D&D put out that opening call back in 4th edition for settings, or was it 3rd edition for settings?
It was 3rd edition, yeah.
And then all the work those people put in, they can never use it again.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot, because the winner was I think Baker's Eberron.
Yeah,
right.
But I believe
the follow-up got published.
The follow-up finally got published too, and that was by was that by Ray Winninger? No, that was who did the follow-up, because
the number 2 place. I forget. It seemed more generic fantasy. Oh God, I forget the name of it. I can still picture the cover, but I forget the name. But it billed itself as the runner-up to
right. But that was like you said, that's huge, because you're right. You can't, once you put that in the mail to WotC, you could not use any of that ever again. That belonged to them. Yes,
all of it gone.
I've seen creators complain about that on Facebook and online after that. But sorry, man, that was part of the deal, and you should have known that. You sold your soul, brother.
You did.
Yeah.
The devil was very open about it. The devil wasn't hiding the details.
No. And I've seen people specifically complain that, man, I set in my kick-ass setting to WotC, 10 years, 15 years ago, and I can't use any of it. I'm like, well,
you can. You can. It's just that you may get sued.
Right.
But you can.
You got to hope how much they liked it, yeah.
When you say they don't own all the rights, you own the rights, except that you can't publish it. Okay, you own it, and if Wizards of the Coast wants to publish it in a product, yes, they have to compensate you.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't say, "I'm going to take this out of the DMs Guild and rewrite it for Castles and Crusades and publish it." You can't. You're done.
No,
not allowed.
If you have a world called Shadowzar World, and the main creatures in there are called Gruntolas, and you sent that in for the contest, and you decide to go on. I'm going to go online. I'm just going to publish that, and you publish Shadowzar's World with Gruntolas. You're leaving yourself open for some WotC ass kicking, Because if they wanted to, now they could just decide they don't really care about Shadowzar World and Gruntolas, but they but that would be setting a
the moment they
precedent.
let Chad's World go, then they're in.
Yeah, exactly. They don't want to set
it. Opens up the door for others.
Oh yeah,
because of the non-enforcement.
They're not going to set a precedent and let you go ahead and do that. So, yeah, that's what the danger of that is. That's why I would never submit anything to DM's Guild or anything. Now, I know people that do that. I know, for instance, Alex Kamer has, and this is a smart guy. He's a lawyer, but he just really wanted to be published by WotC. And so he's willing to give up whatever adventure or whatever he sent in because he just wants to be published by Wizards of the Coast. And I can understand that because there's a huge audience there. You can get some big time publicity for your stuff if you send it in. It's a popular adventure, but but
if you want to stay in that ecosystem, it doesn't really matter. You see, all I really want to do is D&D 5e or within the Wizards of the Coast. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just when you want to go outside of it. So if you never have any plans for that, then it doesn't really matter.
And if you figure, all right, well, I'm selling in the DM's Guild, I'll sell 50% more than I would if I was selling it just on drive-through. Maybe that marketplace is worth giving up the extra 15 to 20% that would have been your share, and giving it to giving it to the evil corporations.
I mean, Alex says probably at this point, I'm not going to speak for Alex. He probably doesn't need the money at this point. So it was just a passion project. And I'm sure there's people like that just say, hey, I just want to publish something to have something published by WotC. It sounds cool. But you got to know what you're getting into. You got to know what you're getting into with this. And I remember seeing the original rules for that contest, Jeff, and just thinking, I wouldn't send him the dumbest thing I ever wrote to that. The dumbest world I ever wrote would never go there because there's no way I'm going to give up, a lifetime of seeing what WotC does with it to never do anything in that world again.
But the thing is, probably like 97% of it's probably crap. But
sure.
But that 3%, those people, that 3% of great ideas, gone.
Yeah.
The rest of the people, it's like probably a better idea they can't ever do it. Maybe it's a better idea that's never sees the light of day.
Yeah, because you got those people that are like, my world doesn't have halflings, it has quarterlings.
Yeah, exactly.
Or whatever, just terrible crap. Like, my dwarves and elves don't hate each other, they love each other. And and this is gonna be the twist in my world, so I'm sure people threw stuff in there, like you said, it's just ouch. Bad. But yes, that's still, think about the contract before you sign the contract, guys. Always do this.
Yes. Well, we have certainly passed the witching hour.
We took you to the brink.
Yeah, $5 short. I might have to call my mom.
We got you $100 tonight, though. We got you.
That's amazing. I really do appreciate it.
We wish we could have done more. I wish I could just buy another one. But
maybe in the replays. We got views in the replays. Folks, during the midst of the show, we hit 1,030 subscribers. So I want to thank everybody who's been subscribing. We've been doing
that's great. That's awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Again, if I apologize if these ads are getting annoying, we are going to be setting up sponsorship so we can do away with the ads.
Yes. Live streams to come to benefit the North Texas Con and the Doug Ray Memorial Fund. That's gonna be awesome.
Right. So I mean, is it annoying? Yes. Is it going? Will the dollars go to? Just when we do the sponsorship, the Doug Ray Memorial Fund? Yes. So I mean, I think that's going to, it's a way to encourage people to sponsor stuff.
Right.
I know we already have people lining up to do so because everybody loves Mike and I.
Of course.
Mike,
once again, the talent's up there, the money's right here. So yes,
folks, Jeff's Kickstarter, Journey into the Madlands. It's got 8 days left. Back it. It's good. I have it. I've read it. It's simply good shit.
Chef's kiss. Yes.
Why can I kiss me, Mike? I already call you my work spouse, but we can't get too serious.
No, that's it. No, I said chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss. Not Jeff's kiss, but chef's kiss.
No, chef's kiss.
Yes,
I'll take all the love.
We will remember the little people now that we're not big time.
By the way, Ty was just on a podcast with 175,000 people. So yeah,
yes,
we don't want to hear what you think with big time.
We are still very little fish in a very little pond. But
Nick Arcade is as close to us as we are to the sun right now. So yeah, we're not that territory yet by any way, shape, or form.
No,
so.
no.
But whether podcast can have the host that can do Jerry Lewis and Jackie Mason.
We don't have one here, Jeff. We still don't have one. So I don't know what you're talking about. We don't have one here. We don't have one now.
I'm getting abused. I'm going to take my ball and go home. Okay. Folks, if you like it, hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Comment after. Again, Mike and I love feedback. If you comment after the show, you can give us ideas for our next episode. Not that we do much show prep, but if we did, your ideas might help. And if we don't, you'll never know. Right? As always, and if it annoys people, I don't apologize. We're in the midst of the world of COVID. Use your common sense. We're not medical professionals. We're not going to tell you what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Use your common sense to keep yourself, your loved ones, your family, your friends healthy and safe. That's really what matters, right? Common sense. It's a dump stat for many in real life, but try not to use a dump stat. Be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice. I'll be back tomorrow. And if you're on the Discord server, we'll have a hangout at 9 p.m. Eastern. Myself and Glenn Hallstrom are going to be on Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. And then, 8 p.m. Eastern. Duh. And then Rach and I, Gamers Health, on Saturday night, 8 p.m. All right, folks. Again, really appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate having me on.
And thanks, Jeff. Yeah,
Short. If you're listening in the replay, back this Kickstarter. Actually, hold on a second. Before I bow out, since I'm yelling at people to back this Kickstarter, right? We're gonna do something. No. I'm gonna
create a fake name.
I put the link up in the chat.
Oh, yeah, good idea. There we go. We'll get some money. We'll get you some business here.
So again, there it is. It's on the screen. Let's journey into the Madlands. You can do a search for it on Kickstarter. We thank you. All right. On that note.
Later.